I think the centenary is very significant in terms of the development of the new Ireland or the new Irelands, but in some ways because of the convention. Sometimes people dismiss the convention as an irrelevance, as a sort of last chance saloon for losers, for Northern nationalists as much as for Southern Unionists. It's the time when people, for example, from loyalists as they saw themselves, not only in Cork or in Wicklow and Dublin, but in Donegal or in Monaghan or in Cavan, mysteriously became Southern Unionists. So it is a time, in some ways, I would argue, where partition effectively is some kind of done deal, and in particular where six-county Ulster Unionism asserts itself as being distinct from Irish Unionism generally.
The convention was about offering the prospect of a solution and keeping the Irish talking. The convention was about keeping Unionists and Nationalists on board with the war effort by kicking the problem of the Government of Ireland down the road, and that's, I'm afraid, how I perceive it. It was also hoped that more militant nationalists such as Sinn Féin would engage with the Irish Convention, and that this would keep them occupied rather than engaged in further military action.
A lot of the subjects that were discussed in the convention that convened here in this room 100 years ago today are still very much with us. Should education be denominational? What philosophic and religious principles should govern marriage law? Should Ireland impose tariffs on imports from Britain? Should Ireland be part of a customs union with Britain or not? These are all issues that are still very much with us today.
The Irish Convention failed to produce an agreed constitution for Ireland within the Empire. And to produce just such a constitution was its set task, at least initially, and it plainly failed to do what it had been asked to do. Last year, the Irish state commemorated with some ceremony and expense another failure, the 1916 Rising. The 1916 Rising did not succeed, and the republic that was proclaimed outside the GPO has never existed.
It is possible to look at the Irish Convention in two ways. Either as a real attempt against the odds to find an agreed basis for all-Ireland home rule, however restricted, or as a vivid illustration of some of the irreconcilable forces at work.
The Irish Convention of 1917 to 18, bookended by conscription and a new hard British military policy by the summer of 1918, this, allied to die-hard dictation of policy from late 1918, ensured a bloody conflict would replace its conversation.
What strikes me about the convention, though, and it is very interesting, and we could argue that it is an attempt to build common ground, and I would argue that. And I would also argue that to build common ground, you don't have to essentially like each other or simply accept each other's point of view, but you have to make an effort. And I think there's no question that the majority in the convention did make at least an effort to understand where other people were coming from.